Hello, story lovers, and welcome back to my channel, Tales with Tasha. I am Tasha and I am a storyteller. I hope you will enjoy the stories on my channel as much as I do. Being as we are still in the month of love, our overall theme is romance, and this week the sub-theme is shifters. Today's story is contemporary fantasy with a side of the paranormal and lots of magic and glitter. I hope it will make you smile. Don't forget to let me know your favourite genres or themes in the comments so I can make sure to have you covered in planning for 2022. If you are enjoying my stories, please subscribe to support the channel. For those unfamiliar with YouTube, it's free. And also, smash that thumbs up like button if today's tale brings a smile to your face. Thank you, lovelies. And comment down below to let me know what you thought of the story. This story is what I would define as PG-ish, nothing graphic in it and light and romantic, so suitable for all but the youngest viewers. With that being said, make sure you're sitting comfortably and let's jump right on in. Menagerie of Unicorns, Love and Glitter by Natasha Duncan Drake. Zookeepers were the kind of people who would hike 10 miles in deep snow to make it to work. But with the trains not playing ball, they had staff shortages. That's why Sid was on penguin duty. Usually he was exclusively zebras and antelope, but they were all mucking in where needed. When you had a zoo full of rare animals trying to keep species alive, it sometimes got crazy. The penguins seemed to think the snow was awesome at least, especially since it was feeding time. Sid had been doing fine. That was until Pam had been called away on an emergency involving ice somewhere it shouldn't have been, and Jamie had arrived to fill in. Jamie of the sweetest nature, the stunning eyes, and the amazing abs. Thank you so much, Nala the elephant and a bucket of water for giving him that view last summer. It was obvious to a good half of the zoo staff that Sid was soft on Jamie, but thank all that was holy, not Jamie himself. That would have been more than Sid could take, because Jamie was a walking dream, but also completely straight. The last thing Sid wanted to do was make anything awkward. Sid tended to stay on the other side of the room from Jamie during staff meetings, or the opposite end of the zoo when he could manage it. But not today. Today, they were almost shoulder to shoulder, and it was sending Sid's equilibrium all to hell. He was an adult. He could deal with it. Only he couldn't. When he pulled the last fish out of the bucket and it was covered in glitter, he knew he was in trouble. He threw the fish into the pool as quickly as possible. I've got to run, he said, shoving his glitter-covered hand behind his back. Zebra stuff, sorry. No problem, Jamie replied, with one of his patented smiles that just made the trembling in Sid's insides worse. Cool, see you, sometime. Sid fled. He didn't stop until he was in the zebras' nighttime quarters. They only had 4 zebras, since they were a very rare subspecies, what with the zoo being part of a breeding program. All 4 were in the paddock, although their daytime stalls were open to them if they decided they really didn't like the weather. Sid needed a minute to breathe and get a hold of himself. He wasn't usually like this. You look like you've seen a naga in heat. Sid turned to find his best friend Amara giving him a double eyebrow raise. She was very good at conveying emotions with just her eyebrows. He didn't bother saying anything, just showed her his hand where the glitter was only just beginning to evaporate. You shifted? Amara had gone from curious to worried in a heartbeat. She was really very sweet once you got past her tough Nagin exterior. She must have seen him rushing across the zoo grounds because usually she worked in the reptile house. There were several supernatural beings on staff at the zoo, but Amara was the only one Sid knew really well. Almost, he admitted. Why? I don't know, he said. It's only happened twice before. I've had complete control of my shift since I was 9 when I first changed. Okay, so when did it happen before? Amara was great like that. She could be completely logical when she wanted to be. Sid didn't have to think about the answer. The first time was when my dads brought home Emily, he said. They showed me this little bundle and poof, glitter everywhere and hooves on the carpet. Makes sense, Amara said, but Sid didn't have a clue why she would think that. How is Emily? Search turned anything up? Not yet, Sid replied, always happy to talk about his little sister. All the information on the adoption papers turned out to be fake, as expected. Our dads are doing their best to get it investigated and to find her birth mother for her. But you know how xenophobic Fae can be. The reason Emily was given up in the first place is probably because she's half light and half dark Fae. How's she holding up? Stubborn as ever and refusing to look on the dark side, Sid said, the pride he had in her shining through. Wish there were more like her out there, Amara said. Now, back to you. What was the other time? Remember I told you Fae are late bloomers, he asked, and Amara nodded. Well, because of my human half, it looked like I went through puberty normally, but I thought I was asexual because I never had any urges at all. Then I turned 19 and bam, hormones hit me in the face in a big way. I went gaga over this guy at uni, and the first time we kissed it was like a gay pride parade, more glitter than you can possibly imagine. Why have you never mentioned this? It's hilarious, Amara said, mouth twitching into a grin. It is not. It was mortifying, Sid protested. Imagine what you'd think if you were kissing your boyfriend and suddenly there's a unicorn standing in your dorm room. Well, most people I know would think it was awesome because unicorn shifters are like royalty. Sid glared at Amara. He was human. Yeah, that would put a damper on things, Amara admitted. He totally freaked out, and the powers insisted on altering his memory. I had to change universities. That sucks, Amara agreed. But also hilarious. It's the glitter, sorry. Sid gave her another glare, but he could never stay mad at his best friend, so it wasn't a very good glare. He supposed, looking back, that maybe it was a little funny. Premature reglitteration, he said, a small smile twitching at his own lips. Amara chuckled. So let me guess, she said after a moment, this was to do with Jamie, right? How did you... You're triggered by love, you idiot, Amara told him. Oh. It all sounded so logical when Amara said it. But I didn't kiss him. Then you really have it bad, Amara said. Oh, God, no, I don't want to have to leave, Sid all but wailed. Even half-Fae could be overdramatic when they wanted to be. Oh, hush, Amara said. It's not that bad yet. Why don't you ask him out? He's straight. I have one word for you, Amara said, one eyebrow almost hitting her hairline. Bisexual. Really? How did I not know that? Because your gaydar is the worst I have ever seen, was Amara's verdict. But glitter, hooves, pointy horn, Sid pointed out. Amara looked at him for that, and her lips twitched. You have a dirty, dirty mind, he said, and she had the gall to laugh at him. But seriously, I glittered a fish when feeding a penguin this morning. How exactly am I supposed to ask him out? Well, you could start with, Jamie fancy going to the pub this evening. Sid almost jumped out of his skin when an all too familiar voice joined the conversation. He didn't want to look over, he really didn't, but he had to. There in the doorway was Jamie, Sid wanted to curl up and die. "How much of that did you hear?" Amara asked, ever practical. "Glitter, hooves, really pointy horn," Jamie replied. Sid asked the universe to open up and swallow him. "Are you really a unicorn shifter?" That question brought him up short on the wallowing. "What?" His brain was not firing. It was the best he could do. "He is," Amara answered for him, far better at making sense than he was at the moment. "Wow," Jamie said. "Just one thing, don't tell my mum or she'll be arranging the wedding before we've even had a second date." Sid's brain began to catch up. "You're not human?" he asked. Jamie pulled back his sleeve to reveal a tattoo of a hooded crow. "3/4 human, but Granny May is a Bavan she. Met Grandad, true love, blah blah blah," Jamie explained. Sid had to hold on to the desire to create a huge pile of glitter right there and then. He managed to hold it at a little shed and kept the shift on the inside. "Right, well, I think that is my cue to exit," Amara said. "Jamie, just so you know, we'll be having the hurt my best friend conversation at a later date. Have fun, boys." Then, like the traitor she was, Amara left Sid to fend for himself. "You okay there?" Jamie asked. "Amara says I'm triggered by love," Sid said, and promptly clapped his hand over his mouth as he realised what he had said. "We've had one whole conversation since I started here 6 months ago," Jamie pointed out. "You'd be amazed what you can learn at a distance," Sid said. "Please, don't have me arrested for stalking. I thought you were human and straight." Jamie actually smiled at that, which Sid hoped was a good sign. "You really have it bad, don't you?" Jamie said. "I never believed Granny May when she said love hits supernaturals like a bullet between the eyes, but I'm guessing it does." "My dad's had one dance at a masked ball and that was it for them," Sid admitted with a shrug. "I thought being only half-Fae I might have escaped that part." "You're half-Fae and a unicorn shifter?" Jamie asked. "I bet that blew a few minds. The Sheed are a little more tolerant of species interbreeding, but Fae are notoriously anti." She and Fae were actually ancient branches of the same species, but while Fae had remained insular, the She's more outward vision had made them a much more varied lot. "It was punishable by death only a couple of 100 years ago," Sid agreed. "One of my dads is Fae, the other is a werewolf. That ball was actually a diplomatic mission. It was a huge scandal. They made it a point to adopt 4 half-breed kids after they were life-bonded. There's me, my 2 older brothers, they're twins, and my little sister Emily." "And then you turned out to be a unicorn shifter," Jamie said. "Wow, I can only imagine how many heads exploded." "They still don't really know how to deal with it," Sid agreed. "My dad's family tried to crawl back into his good graces after it came out, wanted us back in the fold, but there were all sorts of caveats, so my parents told them to bog off." Jamie grinned. "I would have given money to see that," Jamie said. "I only went to a supernatural gathering once and the racism was unbelievable." "Some of our kin really need to grow up," Sid said with a nod. "So you and me would probably cause an even bigger scandal, since you're the lightest of the light and Granny May was the darkest of the dark," Jamie said as his grin widened. "It would, wouldn't it?" Sid acknowledged, loving Jamie's sense of humour. Who was he kidding? He was proper gone on all of Jamie, but he decided it might be best not to say that right then. "So, Jamie, would you like to go down to the pub this evening?" he asked instead. Jamie's grin became a full-on smile. "Sid, I would love to," Jamie replied. Sid just about brimmed over with happiness, and for a split second forgot himself. Glitter filled the air. "Bollocks," he said, which was probably really strange coming from the mouth of a unicorn. Thank you so much for joining me this week for our story of gay magical love and the glitter. I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I enjoyed reading it for you. Please let me know what you thought in the comments. Thank you. And please, with glitter on top, click the thumbs up button and give this story a like if you enjoyed it. And it would make me ecstatically happy if you would subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and it's totally free apart from the odd ad. Thank you so much. There is an ebook version of the story on Amazon and all the other major retailers if you would like a copy to keep. The micro stories for this week are also in the book. There is a link in the description, or scan the QR code on screen now. See you next week. As always, we'll have 4 YouTube shorts on Monday to Thursday and another longer video on Friday. Today, only Ruby would sit still long enough to be filmed, but she is being adorable for all you cat lovers.